Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Matt Capper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Yes, I am back after a 2-week vacation. Had a wonderful time celebrating Canada Day and Independence Day with my girlfriend out on the West Coast. I am back. Unfortunately, that means she and I have to be apart, and given my druthers, I would rather be with her than you. No offense, I'm sure you understand, but this is what it is. So I am back with you and we are doing daily videos or nearly daily videos for the channel. And today I wanted to start off with a nice little fun epic team we put together here to battle two different hard 10 dungeons. That is right, one epic team, two hard 10 dungeons, and crushing it. We'll also talk about the teams I currently use, and maybe we'll have a little question for you in the comments down below in a minute. But without further ado, let's get into it. One team, let's get into it. Okay, at this point, we need a disclaimer. I have to do this every time because someone wanders into the comments like, yeah, but here's the deal. This is an endgame account. This is an endgame team. Even though it's all epic, there are stat requirements for any hard 10 dungeons that are very strenuous. So don't think that I've got some magic, wonderful something that you're going to have early game gear and you're going to be plowing through the hard level dungeons. This is not for the early, mid, or even late game, depending on what you have for gear. This is an end game gear. What this is focused to is those of you free-to-play players who do not want to use some of your legendary and your end game champions on dungeons. If you can get away with using an all-epic team in dungeons, a team that would typically only be used in dungeons, and that frees up champions for Sand Devil's Necropolis, for Iron Twins, for Phantom Shogun, or for Live Arena 3v3 and Classic Arena. That's the goal of a team like this. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about the 4 main dungeons, the 2 that I just couldn't do with this team, or any team that's all epic so far. And then we'll talk about the epic team I did use on the 2 dungeons that it worked for. Now, obviously, you've probably guessed the first one that it does not work for is the Fire Knight. The Fire Knight is such a wicked endgame level champion account. This is the team I have. I don't even know if this team is 100%. I'm skeptical, but it has beat it. I usually just run 6 because I feel more comfortable running hard level 6 because I know that's 100% with this team. But here's the team. It did have a best time of 3 minutes and 51 seconds. So it's not too bad of a team. Just, 3 minutes and 16 seconds, 77 turns. But again, like I said, I'm just not convinced that that's 100%. I'd rather come to here, 2 minutes, 31 seconds, stage 6. And I know it's 100% and go. But that is the team for that. I could not get an epic, and nor do I think I ever will get an epic team to be able to do hard level 10 dungeon in the Fire Knight's Castle. The other one is Ice Golem's Peak. Because Ice Golem's Peak takes away poisons, and the team I'm going to show you makes use of poisons, it's just not a viable team to use in Ice Golem. But on top of that, Ice Golem is not an easy dungeon. It does have a very high stat requirement because there's an ignored defense component that hits really freaking hard. The team I use is a minute 9:50, and it is the Chromax team there. You can see him at the beginning. This is actually not 100% either, but because I run Ice Golem so rarely as compared to the other dungeons, I have no problems running 10 and taking the about 91 to 92% win rate so far. I just built this team recently, so I don't have a lot of data, though I did put 200 runs in, and out of the 200 runs, it was at 92% in RSL Helper, if that helps you with anything. And it is the Chromax Solo the Boss dungeon, so you get there really quickly with your Seer, and then Chromax just uses and abuses the partnership with Demarja to get through there. Good team when it works, obviously not 100%, but if it was any other dungeon, I might worry about it. This dungeon, I don't. Now let's talk about the 2 dungeons the one team will be able to take care of. First, we have the Dragon's Lair. You can see my best time on Dragon's Lair is 29 seconds, 33 turns. That is with this team right here. This team usually goes around 35 to 40 seconds. It did land 29 seconds once on auto battles. Didn't even get to see it happen. But it's a double Theodore with Stultus. His passive ability works really well against this dungeon. And of course, we have some cleanse. We have Kymar to reset as well as to strip the increased attack to make this team work. Very, very free to play friendly, as I'm sure you can all agree. And then finally, we have the Spider's Den. Again, 23 seconds, 11, usually around 26 seconds, but a couple times it goes a little bit quicker. And that's this team here. I use Kymar a lot, obviously, in different places, but this is also about using champions that I don't necessarily use elsewhere, like Septimus, like Bellinor, like oddly enough Trunda, which seems just shocking and full of dismay that is even something I would utter. But Brogni comes in here pretty good. I can still use him elsewhere with this build. And then the Kymar where I use everywhere. It's the same Kymar build, so it works really well. And that's the teams. Now, what teams am I going to show you for these dungeons? Well, let's show the 2 different runs, and then I'll show you the team because it's the exact same setup and build for both dungeons. Let's start with the harder of the 2, and that is the Dragon's Lair. And the Dragon's Lair, here is the team that we're going to use right here. And I actually have pre-recorded, so we're going to bring that up now, and we're going to show that battle here. And let's fire away, and we'll talk about it as we play it. All right, this team works because of the amount of poisons I can dish out through these epics. You see, we've got a Kemptum. He's extending, he's spreading, he's got the Hex, and we have Kale, who's going to work really good on the boss, but also just in general, taking down these fights. And the other 3 are there for survivability. Skathix is there for the cleanse, to get those poisons off your team and to get them alive. Don't worry about Kemptum dies here. I've tried kind of bumping up his HP a little bit. It doesn't really help. Oddly enough, it's better when he dies. Otherwise, it goes after other champions. And when those other champions die, it slows down the run. So, like you see them going after Kale now. Tagore, who is one of the best epics in the game, easily top 5. I got to do an updated list because this guy has absolutely taken over the list. He's there for heal and shields and revive. We also have Eurogrims for poisons and heals. And altogether, this team works really well. It's a very slow stages. It's very strange. Some of these stages are very quick. Like I find Ice Golem, very low requirements for my Seer to explode that team. But then it comes to this team, and it seems to take a little bit forever. But honestly, if you're running this overnight, you're doing 100 runs for tournament, that sort of thing, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. Just if it's a slower fight. I did see, by the way, I do want to give a shout out to a fellow YouTuber. Let me find his. I'm gonna go to the history. I'm gonna talk about him while this is running, and the reason why is because he is a. Nope, that's not the one. That's Scratch. Scratch doesn't need any more shoutouts. By the way, Scratch, everybody. This is I was looking. Anytime I do an all epic team, I want to make sure the team doesn't already exist. Right, I want to make sure that I'm doing new content and just not copycat content. And this is it. There's a guy named Chaos TV. I will leave a link in the description down below or probably in the pinned comment. Check this guy out. He had an all-epic team featuring your Ursula, Geomancer, Eurogrim, Venomage, and I believe the last one is a guy whose name I can't remember right now. And it actually was a very strong team. It did take about 5 minutes, but I did like the team. Oh, it was Vogoth was the 5th member. So that was a 100% win rate. Check him out. He's got 350 subs. It wouldn't hurt to give the guy a few more subs. Get him up there going. It was a neat little team there. But anyway, Chaos TV, I will link to his video, which is obviously a different team than mine. But I always like giving some love to some fellow content creators. So if you could join me in doing that, I would appreciate it. Now on to the team. You see, now we're at to the boss, and we've got some relatively fast poison. I know here the big thing is we get that block up, and that block helps against getting stunned there, even though we didn't do the full damage. Hopefully we get to a point where we're damaging again there. Blocking the poisons is really nice. Now we've got the poisons up. We've got the poison sensitivity. We're able to do some damage here and get that. There's that poison explosion from Kale. Kale doing the work on the boss, obviously. And we're going to get a pretty reasonable time. I think it's going to be shy of Are we going to go over 4 minutes? I did get a low of about 3.5 minutes, and the high was about 4.5 minutes. So, I mean, it's not a speed run, obviously, but it's a nice, easy run that you could probably run while you're supposed to be working. And, or that's so there you go. 358, 151 turns, not going to break the bank, but pretty good. And I did run it multiple times. Like I said, you can see here, we did do multiple runs of it. All of them worked pretty well. Different speeds, just depending. I did play around with some HP on a Kemptum, and all it did was force them to start fighting after Kale. And we want Kale to be alive more than we need Kemptum. Oddly enough, after his first turns, we don't need him as alive as we need Kale. So Ultimate, no, with Supreme Kale. I don't know, Ultimate. That's Kale number 2, Kale 2. I don't even know his name. So that's the first one. That is the Dragon 10 hard. But what are we doing with this exact same team in the Spider Den? Well, let's bring it up and show you, because believe it or not, this team. We're gonna believe it or not, this same team comes into Spider 10, no changes to anything. It's the exact same setup, the exact same everything, which I'll show you after the run. But because of the wonders of Hex, this team works great. You see here, what happens is the spider's about to do some bad stuff. When the spider does that, it takes damage, it kills the spiders, which then does the damage back to it. And that is how we win this. And the first one, I think, was even a little bit faster than this one. This one was a little bit slower. Also, Kemptum does get slept, but because of the skill set of the champions we're using, gets woken up pretty easy. And this is about a 1 minute team. I mean, I remember the time when a 1 minute team in Spider 20 and you were laughing. So it is a different world here. That right there, that's a good win, is because we get a random debuff spread when he attacks the main spider. In that case, we got the Hex again, which did even more. It did that multiplier damage. Jeez, I can't speak today. And then we go man down, but it's okay. He's just about dead here. Sometimes he dies right away. It all depends, like I said, on the randomness of the debuff spread and whether how much damage and how many poisons we have up. So it's just gonna. It's all over. The spider's dead. It just doesn't even know it yet. But as soon as he takes turn, there you go. 39 turns, a minute 24. That is a longer run. I'll show you the first run again. You saw it here. It was 49 seconds and 18 turns. So both of these work really well. Same team, same setup. So how did we set it up? I'm glad you asked. Let's find out. Let's close this, and we can actually go into here, and we can take a look at the team setup here. And we have Urgrim lead. Urgrim, it does have a speed aura, which helps with the overall speed tune. He is sitting at 253 speed. Round 1, we are starting with his poisons and then locking it out. And then after that, we're okay with him using multiple to try to get through that second wave. We just want to make sure this is available for the second wave. And that way, so that reason we lock it off. And then the third wave, we just let him do what he needs to. Dark Kale, first wave, we're going to start with the poison sensitivity. We want Binding Darkness, which puts the decreased attack and increases duration of all debuffs. We want that to happen second, after all the debuffs are up, which is where our Kempton comes in. But Dark Kale on the round 1. Round 2, we're not using Reality Acid. We want to save that for round 3 when we get to the boss, and we use that first. And then a Kemptum here, round 1, we're putting the Immortal Malison on, and then we're not using it again. Same with round 2, and then round 3, we're letting them go. And then Teogar, we are starting with Charge Can't, and then we're locking it off. I don't know why I did that. I think that was for something else. You could do it here too. That's not the big thing. I was trying to... the reason why I do it here is I'm trying to get to Rise and Fight, but unfortunately I wasn't really able to get it so Rise and Fight was available right away when someone died. So it really didn't... I think I was playing around with a few different forms for that, but everything's good with it. As it is, you're perfectly fine. And then, of course, you just want to start with Rise and Fight on that last round. The reason why I do that is if we get deaths on the last round, on the boss round, I want this to come back off a cooldown because it's a 5-turn cooldown. People don't typically die in the first few turns. It's if things get slightly out of sync after that. So this gives me the ability to have it put it on cooldown right away, and then don't worry about it until we get to 5 turns later when we might have 1 or 2 dead people. And thankfully, usually Skathix, Teogar, and Eurogrim together can keep each other alive until they can bring up a Dark Kill or a Chemtum. I did have that happen in one of the test runs. Finally, we have Skathix. Skathix in round 1 is starting with Scales and then stopping. Round 2, he's not using it at all, and we're using it first in round 3. Again, 4-turn cooldown. Keep that in mind. In round 3, I do want to start with Transfer Rush because I want to make sure those poisons are on me before I cleanse them and put up the block debuffs. Just keep that in mind. And then that is it for the team. Again, let's take a look at how they are particularly built out here. We'll go into the champion area. All epic. God bless them. And let's start with Skathix because he's the first one. He is a 2 blessing, not a big deal, but he does have 63,000, 198, 350 accuracy, and he's in regen gear for some survivability. The next on the list should be Eurogrim. There he is. Eurogrim also in regen gear, and he's running a swift 72,000, 253 speed, 350 accuracy. Keep in mind that he does have the 20% speed in all battles, so that is speeding up the whole team a little bit more, which is nice. And then the third one is a Chemtum. Now, a Chemtum is a special case. He's running both Stalwart and Guardian gear, and that way he is getting as survivable as possible. 60k HP, 204 speed, 375 accuracy. We have kind of reduced a lot of his actual attack output in order to make sure that we're getting the survivability. And even then, he dies because single target hits with those Teas, right? Put him down. I think it's Teas, right? But we do have the Defiant and the Stalwart against those big AoEs to help him survive those. And of course, we also have our best buddy, Tagore. And Tagore is in just standard set, getting that 256 speed. He doesn't need accuracy. We're just 84,000, just as much health as possible to keep him alive. And then finally, we have our Dark Kale. Dark Kale. I knew there was some sort of Kale. And he's at 120 speed, or sorry, 220 speed, 58,000 HP, 354 accuracy. Again, his main goal, stay alive, get those poisons up, get those explosions on the boss. Masteries are not a big deal for any of these, but typically you're just running for accuracy and damage. Here I'm running all about defense. And then we go to holy moly, great googly moogly, a Kemptum. He's getting the Giant Slayer procs with his triple hitters. And then we're going, I keep wanting to click on him. Maybe I should have used him. War Master on Eurogrim. And finally on Skathix, we don't even have Masters because I haven't built them out yet. So you can tell the Masters are just going to make things easier on stat requirements. But honestly, as you can see, not a must-have for any of these champions. So there you go. That is the end of the video. That is it. What do you think? I want please comments down below. Would you like me to do actual full breakdown videos of my legendary teams, or are you okay with that? And other than that, I want to thank you for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, thumbs up, notify, tell your best friend and 3 other people to watch. And most importantly, be kind, be safe, and we'll see you in the next video.